Okay, Justin, let's go take for take. And let's start with Max Domi, who scored his first goal as a Leaf this past Saturday against the Boston Bruins. He's got 12 points now, 1 goal, 11 assists. Has his season officially started?
Bro, no, it hasn't, man. Your season doesn't start when you score your first goal. Your season starts in October when everybody else's season starts. Max Domi has been the stat line looks good. Like he's projected to get 45 points this year. He's only got the 1 goal, but he's been setting up a lot of plays too. I remember was it the game in Tampa Bay, that Saturday night comeback where I think you said to me that, oh, this is it for Max Domi. What a play. He turned around his season with a great assist because he had a saucer pass. I don't know if that was you or
That
somebody
was
else.
definitely not me.
It might have been you, bro. It might have been you. I don't know. I'll have to check the footage or whatever, but Max Domi has been invisible. The only times I really noticed Max Domi this season was when he was getting his ass kicked in fights consistently, especially by Sam Bennett, right?
No.
When I look at Max Domi, he had so much pressure on himself that he put on, saying that, I'm home now. I'm glad to be here, doing the OVO shoot with Drake and stuff like that, being the son of Ty Domi, the Leafs legend Ty Domi.
How does he put pressure on himself by being the son of Ty Domi? That's not his
By
fault.
doing things like being in OVO shoot with Drake and Ty Domi's in it as well, doing it
Comes
with
with
his
it, though.
dad.
You're in Toronto. That's what happens, man.
I'm just
That's
saying, look, and then him saying, what he said about playing in Montreal versus playing in Toronto, right? And
yeah,
how that's different and stuff like
of
that.
course.
Like you're putting pressure on yourself. You're making $3 million to come into this city, to this team, to be a difference maker. And I don't think he's been a difference maker this season. He's been just like Bertuzzi and Klingberg and Reaves. He's been a failure, Albert.
So let me ask you this: what are
Okay.
your honest, your true expectations for Max Domi as a Leaf? Let's
Yeah.
say before the season started, your expectation would have been what?
If Max Domi could have scored 15 to 10 to 15 to 15 to 17 goals, have 35 to 40 points, which he's projected to do, I'd be impressed. But the biggest thing is not on the stat sheet. Can I notice him every night? Is he getting hard in on the forecheck? Is he playing with snot? Is he playing with snarl? Is he doing what he does best, being a tough guy to play against, being an agitator? Is he being that? I don't notice Max Domi a whole lot on the ice when I watch him play, right? So that's the biggest thing to me is you are brought in. The points are one thing, but can you be a difference maker off the score sheet as well? And I just don't see that with him.
Yeah, that's fair. Listen, I thought he's been better on the third line since he was inserted there. That third line's been pretty
Mm.
good, but I just thought my bar wasn't set that high with Max Domi. He's a depth guy, and I think they're going to really rely on him or what they want from him in the playoffs more than the regular season. And like you
Mhm.
said, he's on pace for 45 if he hits 50 points. I think that's pretty good for a $3 million player on a 1-year deal. Obviously, you want more from every single player, but you get what you get. And listen, because he's the son of Ty Domi, you do get that unnecessary pressure, but that's not his fault, Justin Pooni. Don't blame the guy for Ty Domi being his pops.
I guess so, Albert. But look, man, like it's gonna happen. Look, we're in Toronto. You said right. Those comparisons are gonna happen.
No, I mean,
You're,
we're in Toronto. That's why he's getting the OVO shoot. That's why, fourth liners get cars from dealerships and get their own dealerships. That only happens in Toronto.
when are we gonna get our car?
I know. I
Dealership
want a
in our
car too,
garage?
man.
I
Call
need a free
somebody. You
car,
got to know
man.
somebody, no?
I know some people that can get us a free car, but
Hey, is Ryan Reaves going to get a free car?
that's what I was about to ask you right now. Speaking of Ryan Reaves, again, nothing noticing this guy other than taking dumb penalties and stuff like that. But is it time for the Leafs to move on from Ryan Reaves?
I think so. I think if you can, you probably have to. And Brad Living just has to eat this one. 1.35 million. I mean, we're 20 plus games into the first year of this contract. That's a 3-year contract. And what did he play against Boston? 8 shifts. Really a non-factor. If he's playing with the team on any given night, he's not playing many shifts, like I just mentioned. And
Right.
then after that, he's probably sitting in the press box. I mean, dollar in, dollar out. Every dollar matters in the salary cap era. You can't be carrying around a guy who essentially does nothing for your team. I just want to know what he does. I would love for the players and Brad Living to come out and be like, this is why we're paying him $1.35 million because of the confidence he brings Austin Matthews or Mitch Marner or whatever the case may be, because I haven't really seen anything. Are they playing a little bit tougher and standing up for themselves a little bit more? I think so. I really think they have. And I think that had something to do with what happened in Boston. Was that because of him? Did he go in the dressing room and rip every single player? Because I heard Keefe said the same thing. So was it Keefe? Was it Reaves? What is he actually doing to earn that 1.35? And I'm not, hammering Reaves for making that money. If someone wants to pay you that money, dude,
Take it.
that's great. Go get your money. That's not on you. That's on them for wanting to give you that salary. Like Bill
Mhm.
Guerin said in Minnesota, we wanted to keep Reaves, but what happened? The Toronto Maple Leafs backed up the Brinks truck. That's a quote from Bill Guerin. So
It
that
did.
tells you a lot about this player. I mean, he's wanted by teams, but at this price and what he's doing and the cap issues that the Leafs have right now, you have to find a way to move on from this guy. It's as simple as that.
But how are you going to move? Who's going to take on Ryan Reaves
I
at
don't know. I don't know.
1.35
Is there?
million for another 2 years after this year?
I know.
You're stuck
Maybe
with
there's a
nobody's
salary. Maybe there's a salary retention there. I have no
a
idea.
salary retention on a fourth line player
I
that
don't
doesn't
know.
even
Like,
play. How do you? But like,
okay. So this is the question I think that everybody
right.
has. If you can come up with something that actually makes sense, then please let me know.
I just think you're stuck with Ryan Reaves. Whether you got to park his butt in the press box and you got to park his ass in the press box, right?
Yeah.
When Ryan Reaves signed the deal that was given to him, who gave it to him? Brad Tree living in this team. You signed him. Now, what is it? What 7 weeks into the season, 8 weeks into the season, we're in
Yeah.
now. You can't just say, okay, yo, that's it. We want to buyer's remorse. That's not how pro sports works. You
No.
sign him to that deal. You're stuck with him. Make it work. Make it work. Right? Because nobody, and I'm telling you, nobody in the NHL, no smart not even any competent or slightly below competent general manager in the NHL is going to take on Ryan Reaves at 1.35 for another 2 seasons. Nobody's going to do that. Like Bill Guerin said, they backed the Brinks trucks because this team is so desperate to seem tough, and they're not tough, and they still haven't been tough with Ryan Reaves. He hasn't opened up space for anybody. So you're stuck with this situation. You made this mess. You're stuck with it.
Yeah, and more importantly, you're not going to play him in the playoffs, right? So that 1.35, you might as well just eat it. Before we drop this topic, I just want to say Michael DiStefano had a tweet over the weekend, which I thought was great. And I know you're going to love this one. You, as a Vancouver fan, will love this one. So he tweets out, "It's still absurd that Toronto opted to make Sam Lafferty 1.15 million a cap casualty because they needed to force Ryan Reaves 1.35 million onto the roster. Right now, Lafferty on ice 5-on-5, goals for 16, 6 of those of his own, goals against 7. Ryan Reaves on ice 5-on-5, 2 goals, 1 of his own, goals against 12. What a difference that is. And I
I'm
was
telling you,
watching the Vancouver game the other night against
Calgary.
Calgary, and I noticed, well, look who's on the top line tonight. Sam Lafferty, who scores a goal. So you look at that and those moves, and it's not painting Brad Tree living in a good way at all.
Sam Lafferty's been great for the Canucks. He's played
He
up and
has,
down the
dude.
lineup.
He's got a lot
He's
of
done
skills.
for what he's making right now. Sam Lafferty has been great for the Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah.
Ryan Reaves, not so much.
The deal just made no sense. But
It
listen,
didn't.
here we are, and this is
Here
something
we
that
are.
Brad Tree Living has to deal with. Okay, I'm going to give you the final word, and it has to do with John Tavares on whether or not he actually deserves to be the captain, and is he actually the right guy to wear the C for Toronto?
Albert, when you look at the Toronto Maple Leafs, historic brand, original 6 franchise, some might say Toronto is the biggest hockey market in the world. Very well might be. I'm not gonna go on and admit that, but it's definitely one of the biggest. This team right here, this core of Matthews, Marner, Nylander, and all of that, and I said this when it first happened, was doomed when they decided to go get the guy who wore Leaf pajamas when he was a little kid. You overpaid for John Tavares, $11 million. He was the big fish on that free agency. And ever since then, I thought this team will never win a Stanley Cup as John Tavares, if John Tavares is the leader and if John Tavares is making $11 million. And I've been right so far, Albert. John Tavares is a good NHL player. He's a very good NHL player. He's gonna have almost I think he's almost at 1,000 assists or whatever in his career. He had some good seasons in Long Island. But when I look at John Tavares when I think about captain, I think about guys like Steve Yzerman, Joe Sakic. You think about guys like, I know Leaf fans might even say Wendell Clark, right? I saw on Instagram today, they're showing Wendell Clark highlights of blowing people up, right? That's not John Tavares' game, right? But John Tavares, to me, isn't right to lead the Toronto Maple Leafs in Toronto. He doesn't have the personality for it. He doesn't have the heart for it, I think. I don't think John Tavares was the right choice to be the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs. right? When I look at the Toronto Maple Leafs, they need a captain in this market who's willing every night to put it all on the line, to not only with the media but on the ice as well. Because as much as I dislike Leaf fans and I think they're delusional, they are smart, right? They understand the game of hockey. What I saw on Saturday night on that back check in overtime, and again, you think people are going too hard on him? Well, I think the exact opposite. You are the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs. It is your duty to not let that happen. Look, Matt Sundin, right? Captain for a long, got abused by Toronto media for a very long time, right? Matt Sundin at least showed some heart on certain occasions, right? When I look at John Tavares and when I look at this team and how it's built, I just don't think he's the right guy to be the leader of this team. He's a guy who puts up a lot of stats, but when you look at his career and history when it matters the most in the playoffs, what did he ever do in Long Island? Nothing. What has he done so far with the Leafs? Nothing, right? When I look at John Tavares, he doesn't have the personality for it. He doesn't have the clutch factor for it. He just isn't it to be the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And is it going to be a situation like in San Jose where he has to be stripped of the C? I absolutely think that should be on the table, especially going into the offseason. Is it time where they need to shake things up now? His contract situation is coming up as well. Is he going to stay in Toronto after this contract? We don't know. But is it time for him to relinquish the C? I think so. I think there are other guys. I thought Morgan Riley is more deserving to be the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs because Morgan Riley's been here through the tough times, but I also noticed Morgan Riley a lot more. I find with the media, Morgan Riley is a lot more accountable. He has the personality. He's more of a leader in the locker room, and especially with guys that, let's face it, in the playoffs that are weak-minded, like Matthews, Marner, and Nylander, that have shriveled up under pressure before. You need a guy who's willing to step up and be like, no, we're not going to do this. I know Tavares isn't a rah-rah guy like that, but and I think about a guy like Steve Yzerman in Detroit. He was never the rah-rah guy, but people always said when Steve Yzerman spoke, they listened. When Steve Yzerman's out there in the playoffs blocking shots, and this is a guy who's put up crazy amount of points, blocking shots, sacrificing his body, doing this and that. He had the respect of his teammates. I don't know if these guys fully respect John Tavares as a leader. And Albert, this is the final word about why John Tavares should be stripped of his C with the Toronto Maple Leafs.